So part of this old motel is we've got some minor structural deficiencies, so we're doing a little bit of chiropractic action. We learned this from the Painted Desert Trading Post project we did a few years back. Out in the middle of Chambers, Arizona, we're gonna jack up this wall because we got some saggage here in this ceiling. So we're using these handy dandy jacks. And then once we do that, we'll go up in the attic and start replacing some, or actually supplementing some structural joists up there. Right now we're just kind of cranking on her a little bit, letting her relax, and then we give her another little crank and see what happens. Every time you crank it, you start hearing cracking and popping. You gotta crank this one equally, otherwise it'll fall out and whap one of us in the head. Hear that popping? Popping fresh. You can see already on the jack we've put about 3/4 of an inch of height in there.
Do we want to turn this back on a little more?
This one?
Yeah.
We got plaster popping and falling. It's starting to come back true though. It's already, you can tell by looking at, get my fingers out of the lens. These cracks are starting to tighten up a little bit, and these are opening because this was all a saggy area. So yeah, it just needs a little bit more massaging. And then we'll have to go up in the attic and brace it up. Okay, so different perspective on this structural thing. We're up in the attic for the moment, and we're checking up on what we did. I probably should have done a before video, but I do have a picture of what it looked like, how it was kind of twisted and sagged. But right down in here is where we have this twisted joist, and it's still a little twisted. You're not going to fix that. It's still kind of off kilter, but it's definitely a lot flatter than it was. It still has a little bow to it, Jamie.
Yeah, it's from the pressure. We were talking about the roof still, sure.
Yeah, the roof is on top of it, and I think that's part of the defect here, is that right here they didn't put a double plate in, and then they just barely kind of tagged it on top of this joist, and it's not on a wall. The wall is actually next to it. Had this been on a wall and overlapped and been doubled up, we would have never had this issue. So now we got to try to put some lateral braces in there. And then in addition to that, another structural defect, I have to kind of maneuver around here, is when they patch their 2x6s together, they use these little 1x scabs. Now I've since gone through here and replaced some of these sistered scabs in here with 2x6s, but all these little 1x's, they're gonna have to get replaced, and that's part of the issue too. But it's gonna look a lot better, and it's gonna be suitable for us to attach our drywall to at least. So the main thing is we want to get it to where we're not having drywall cracks and stuff in the future. Maybe just get a little bit different view here. So we were looking earlier at, there is a structural wall. Oh man, it pulled that right out. I can't even tell where it was at. So yeah, that little I call it a pony wall right through here. It had a big dip in it right through there past the chimney, and that is all nice and straightened out now. If you look a little further beyond that light, you can see just a little peak, and the reason that is because there's a concrete wall there that sits on. But that was a dramatic improvement. So I'd say we're pretty close. You might want to jack up just another 1/4 of an inch, I think. Yeah, I think so.
I can start seeing it. It's starting to go uphill.
Yeah, well, down it, but see where they're where that pony wall's kind of patched together, where that 2x4 ends on the top plate.
Yeah.
It's still a little low there, I think. And we got to remember, when we let the pressure off of those jacks, it's going to sag down a little bit. It's going to spring back.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so you can see just ahead of us, right in here, we put a beam. We put some lateral supports in there. It's got kind of a bow to it. It's kind of arched up, which is intentional. You can kind of see that green laser line that's above there. So we got a bit of a high spot, and that's, again, intentional because we're going to let pressure off of those jacks downstairs. And then when we do, we expect this to drop down maybe about a half an inch or so. So we're gonna let her rip here in just a second, see what it does. All right, so as you can see, it dropped right about a half an inch. But if you look at that laser down the line here, we'll see that it's pretty even, actually. Not too bad at all. It's pretty even almost all the way across. We added that beam across there. There's a little bit of movement here and there down the line, but this one here right in front of us, this was really bad. This was in really bad shape. And so we put that beam in there across those rafters, ceiling joists, whatever you want to call them, and some lateral supports, and looks like it's pretty straight. Jamie, how's it looking down the in the room down there?
It appears that we've remedied quite a bit of the situation.
Good deal, man.
It looks a lot better.
Good. That was a lot of work.
It looks a lot better up here too.
Yeah, that was a lot of effort, but it seems to have paid off. Rather than trying to rig something together, just try to straighten that beam out the best we can. Looks like I'd say it dropped about maybe 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
But if you look at the level, it's fairly straight across there. Awesome.